Week 35. Day 239, on imagining the process as a litmus test. If we hate doing something, we imagine it as hard. We think of it as broken into many pain-in-the-ass steps. If we love something, it seems easy. We imagine it as one fun step. Derek Sivers. When setting new goals, do you imagine them as hard, broken down into countless frustrating steps? Or is the process clear to you, largely reliant on just one big action you need to take consistently to make your dream come true? The way you imagine how the process will go can serve as a valuable litmus test that indicates whether you're pursuing the right goal, and if so, whether you're pursuing it in the right way. For example, I wanted to improve my flexibility and reached out to a physical therapist to give me some pointers on the best exercises for my particular weaknesses. I received a list with several different stretches I was told to perform at least 2 times a day, not a week. This alone was completely unrealistic. I thought about the program as broken into many pain-in-the-ass steps instead of a fun challenge. At first, I listened to the advice, despite having reservations about it. Just a few days later I started skipping some exercises and soon stopped following the program entirely. I was still interested in reaching the goal of improving my flexibility, but I had to come up with my own, simpler plan that I would consider fun and easier to implement in my everyday life. If you're currently following a plan that feels as inspiring as my original protocol for improving flexibility, perhaps it's time to reconsider how to structure it in a different way so that it will feel more like one fun step rather than a long-term arduous journey. Day 240, on separating yourself from the pain. Elite runners feel pain and discomfort during their hard workouts, but they react differently. Rather than panicking, they have a calm conversation. This is starting to hurt now. It should. I'm running hard. But I am separate from this pain. It is going to be okay. Like meditation, choose how to respond to the stress of the workout. Brad Stulberg and Steve Magnus. Pain isn't you, and you aren't your pain. Separating yourself from temporary pain is a crucial ability if you want to put yourself in uncomfortable situations for the sake of bigger and better rewards in the future. Whether it's exercise, dieting, work, or virtually anything else requiring effort, pain is sometimes inevitable. Depending on how you react to it, with panic or a calm inner conversation, you'll either let it hinder your progress or you'll defeat it and progress further. For example, when I'm climbing a particularly difficult route, my forearms burn like hell, I can barely breathe, and my grip is so weak that I'm mere milliseconds from falling. Whenever I'm able to do so, I try to disassociate myself from the pain and try to advance my position further, even if I fall right after grabbing the next handhold. This way, I get to train my mental toughness and strengthen my ability to perform despite pain. Whenever you feel temporary pain or discomfort, remind yourself that you can make the pain partly fade into the background when you mentally refuse to associate yourself with it. Obviously, make sure that the pain you feel isn't a sign of an impending injury or that it can lead to an accident. Day 241, on enabling the future. Your task is not to foresee the future, but to enable it. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Let's perform a quick exercise. Imagine your ideal future. To make it easier, for now focus on only one part of your life, say, your financial situation. You probably desire to have more money in the future. You want to be able to afford what you want and never have to worry about money again. Now let's focus on the present. Think about your choices today, yesterday, and the entire past week. Are they enabling the future you desire or disabling it? Think of it as traveling on a toll road that will eventually take you to your desired future. At each toll booth, you need to pay to continue your journey. If you make the right choice, one that favors your ideal future, the toll barrier will open. If not, you'll be stuck there, standing in front of the barrier until you can scrape something together, in this case, making the choices that enable the desired future. Whenever you find yourself torn between instant and delayed gratification, think of sitting in a car in front of the toll booth. Do you want the barrier to open, so that you can continue your journey toward your goal, or are you fine with waiting and wasting your time? Day 242, on selectivity. Few people take objectives really seriously. They put average effort into too many things, rather than superior thought and effort into a few important things. People who achieve the most are selective as well as determined. Richard Koch. Selectivity is one of the key attributes for success. Nobody in the world is good at everything. Most are exceptional at one, two, or perhaps three things, okay at several others, and mediocre or horrible at a multitude of other things. When setting goals, ask yourself what kind of performance you demand from yourself. Would becoming merely okay satisfy you, or are you seeking excellence? Prioritize your objectives accordingly. It's also important to determine the place each goal has in your life. For example, I made a decision to become as good as I can in rock climbing, but not at the expense of my health. This meant that I had to forego certain other activities, such as tennis, in which I was horrible and had little hope for improvement, but it also meant that whenever I would find myself in a situation that was a potential risk to my health, I would back out. Now I have an easy rule in climbing: if there's a substantial risk of injuring myself in any way, I don't push myself, and I don't feel guilty when giving up. I made a conscious decision about the role of rock climbing in my life, and I won't prioritize my performance in it over what I consider much more important, my health and well-being. Such clarity is important to help you understand how you should approach your goals when they clash with other aspects of your life. If you want to become a billionaire and run big businesses, are you so obsessed about this goal that you're fine with possibly not starting family for a long time? If you want to become a world-class athlete, do you accept the fact that professional sports will put immense stress on you and take a toll on your health? Be selective with your goals, and once you establish which ones are the most important, ensure that you know where they all stand in terms of their priority in relation to other aspects of your life. Day 243, on the crime of aiming too low. I will commit not the terrible crime of aiming too low. I will do the work that a failure will not do. I will always let my reach exceed my grasp. Og Mandino. Aiming too low is in essence yet another manifestation of choosing immediate rewards over bigger rewards in the future. You set your sights low, which ensures success and gives you some peace of mind from knowing that you'll probably make it. However, at the same time, you limit your accomplishments. You get some comfort today at the expense of possible bigger rewards in the future. The alternative is to set ambitious goals that make you feel uncomfortable because they carry a higher risk of failure. You suffer some discomfort today, but in the long run stand to gain more. Which choice is more aligned with a person who values self-discipline in life? Please bear in mind that you shouldn't confuse aiming high with being unreasonable. If you have no idea what is possible and what is not, start slowly with a safe, easily attainable goal, and aim higher only when you understand the odds of making a more ambitious goal become a reality. As a rule of thumb, if you've already been working on a particular area of your life for several months or years, you probably know what is easy to achieve, what is realistic and what might be beyond your reach. If you're new to something, it's unlikely that you can determine that right away without first gaining some experience. For example, I know, from my experience in business, that, in a 6-month time frame, it's an easy goal to make $100 a month from an online business, a realistic goal to make $500 a month, and a stretch goal to cross $2,000 a month. At the opposite end of the spectrum is golfing. I don't know anything about it, so instead of setting an ambitious goal, something I can do properly because I don't understand the odds, I can only focus on an easy, attainable goal, such as learning the basics of how to hit the ball properly, and only begin to aim higher after I have understood the fundamentals. Day 244, on the fun in the impossible. It's kind of fun to do the impossible. Walt Disney. Continuing the topic of aiming high, there's another benefit of doing the impossible: it's more fun than being realistic, and since it's so much fun, The excitement it generates supercharges your motivation to make it a reality. As we've already discussed, this obviously isn't about setting completely impossible goals. Becoming a billionaire in 5 years is unlikely if you're starting from zero, but becoming a millionaire, while also unlikely and impossible for most, isn't actually impossible. While it isn't necessarily a good idea to set several impossible goals in your life, it's worth it to have one goal that borders on the line between what's possible and what's impossible. For example, I set a goal to make enough money to build a countryside house for my parents while I had just a few pennies in my wallet. You could have said it was an impossible objective back then, and you'd be right, except that I did manage to accomplish it in the end, and I owe a lot of my personal drive to this bold, inspiring goal. I doubt that I would have had the same resolve if I had set a safer, more realistic goal. If you want to test, on a smaller scale, the concept of impossible goals fueling your resolve, set a small goal with a short deadline. Write a full-length novel in 2 weeks. Learn a foreign language in 3 months. Make $5,000 on the side in 6 weeks. It's a fun experiment, and if you treat it seriously, you might be surprised at what you can accomplish if you dream big. Day 245, on following or leaving a path. Anything is one of a million paths. Therefore you must always keep in mind that a path is only a path. If you feel you should not follow it, you must not stay with it under any conditions. To have such clarity you must lead a disciplined life. Only then will you know that any path is only a path and there is no affront, to oneself or to others, in dropping it if that is what your heart tells you to do. But your decision to keep on the path or to leave it must be free of fear or ambition. I warn you. Look at every path closely and deliberately. Try it as many times as you think necessary. Carlos Castaneda. A path is a tool, and it's only useful as long as it's getting you closer to your goals. When it stops serving you, don't feel obligated to follow it to the end, or you might end up in the bushes, scratching your head while staring at your scraped knees. The key to making an intelligent decision about whether to leave the path or continue following it is to make that decision when you're free of negative feelings. People often give up their paths when they're struggling, and while they're in pain, they fail to notice there's a reward waiting just around the corner. Another danger is sticking to the same path out of ambition or ego. "I'll see it through to the end," an ambitious individual proclaims, while it's clear that they should have changed the path a long time ago. They refuse to give up out of the fear of others laughing at them, or in fear of themselves coming to feel as if they had betrayed themselves. I suggest periodically reviewing your path, but only after first ensuring that you're in a neutral state of mind. Ask yourself if your strategy is still delivering results. Does it still feel right to you? Do you still see yourself following it for another month, quarter, or year? Paths, like any other tool, sometimes need to be changed.